Hi friends, welcome to my channel. My name's Fiddle. I'm still working on that animation, but it's getting there. Today we'll be cutting out the floors and walls for the first floor of Madeleine's house. Sorry it took a little longer than expected, but I finally got it done. Anyway, don't forget to check the link in the description. That will take you to the Scavenger Hunt where you will find this blueprint and the things that I used to make this house. We're going to start with the floor first, and I didn't record this part because I just didn't have enough space on my craft table. But I did take photos and I'll be able to walk you through the process. I used sheets of corrugated plastic to make mine, but you can use wood or whatever material you would like. Before we move on, let's get an idea of the orientation of the house. Starting from the bottom left corner and working our way away from us, this wall we never see from the outside. But there are a few shots from the inside of the house that do give us an idea of what this wall is supposed to look like. This wall attached to the tower is the front door wall. Then we of course have the tower leading into the main wall that we see from the outside with the bay window. And lastly, the wall along the front that says optional stairs down. This is the open end of the house where we have access to the inside. But it does have an optional stairs down right here that leads into the room that hangs over the cliff. And with this being the side that is open for play, I thought it would be nice to have that as an option. My plan is to make it detachable from the rest of the house, and the access will be through the roof when it is attached. But we won't be making that addition until the rest of the house is done. Okay, we're going to start at the bottom left hand corner and measure straight up the edge of our material 20 inches. Next, going back down to the bottom left corner, measure 25 inches out, and deciding if you want to keep the stairs in or take them out. If you want the stairs, then cut this area out of your floor, but if you don't, just leave it as is. Now that we have a nice right angle to start with, let's go ahead and do the front door wall. It should be 15.5 inches long. And to make sure we're keeping everything straight and the tower goes in the right place, we're going to measure the bay window wall next. Measure in a straight line 15.5 inches. Then going back down to the bottom, measure 2 inches up, and this is where your bay window is going to start. From there, measure out 3 inches at a 45-degree angle. Then running parallel with the wall, measure out another 3 inches. Then again, using another 45-degree angle, measure 3 inches back in towards the wall. And there should be 5 inches from the end of the bay window to where it connects to the tower. Okay, are you with me so far? Next, we're going to start measuring out the tower, starting with this corner here. Using a 90-degree angle, measure 5 inches out. Then from that end point, measure another 45-degree angle at 5 inches. Now using a right angle from that point, measure straight up another 5 inches. The front door wall should line up about halfway into this wall. From the end point, repeat the process until you've gotten all the way back around to the beginning. If you were like me and had to cobble some pieces together, I have a solution to make sure that our pieces stay together and sturdy. To hold my pieces together at first while I drew out the lines, I used clear box tape. Then I turned the whole thing over and used tacky glue in the cracks, then glued poster board strips over top of the seams. Then lastly, I used masking tape over top of the paper. Then I flipped it over again and removed the clear box tape and repeated the process. Next, cut the whole floor out. Then make up a piece as big as your floor is and trace it onto it. Some things to keep in mind while you're doing this: make sure your seams aren't in the same places on both layers, because if your seams are close to or in the same spots, it won't be as sturdy. Now you can glue or tape your two layers together. I used glue and then recently found out that using double-sided industrial strength adhesive tape would also work. I'm going to be getting some later today and I'm going to try it out. I'll let you know how it goes. But for now, we're going to move on to measuring and cutting out the walls. The first wall we're going to be measuring is the left wall. This is the one that we don't see in the movie from the outside. Our measurements are 12 inches by 20 inches. All of the walls for the main part of the house are 12 inches, however the bay windows are 10 inches. If you're using a material that's 3/16 or less of an inch thick, it'd be a good idea to double up your layers and cut 2 of everything. To measure where the windows go, start at the top left corner and measure down 2 inches, then across 2 more inches. Each window is 3 inches wide, 5 inches long, with an inch space in between. For the round window, I measured 1.5 inches from the right side of the right window, and I used a throwaway dip cup to make the circle. And the little circle up in the top right corner is also optional. It's for the stovepipe originally. I'm gonna wait until I have the stove and stovepipe made before I decide on where that hole is gonna be. Okay, the next wall we're gonna cut out is the bay window wall. It is 15.5 inches long and 12 inches tall. To measure out the bay window, start at the top left corner and measure down 2 inches, then measure 2 inches across. This will put you at the top left corner of the bay window. From there, measure straight down to the bottom and it should be 10 inches. Then going back up to the top corner, measure 7 inches across, and then 10 inches back down to the floor. And a little update, I did use the adhesive tape and it works pretty well. I don't have to worry about bending or bowing, and they're still stuck together. I think that'll be the way I'm doing it from now on. Anyways, we are on to the front door wall. This one is 15.5 inches long and 12 inches tall. To measure where the door goes, start at the bottom left corner and measure out 3 inches. And from there, measure up 8.5 inches. You can make your doors smaller if you would like. I went with 8.5 because I thought it fit better than 6.5 with 12-inch walls. Next, measure across 4 inches. Initially, all the doors on the inside are just 3, but because this is the front door, I decided to make it a little bit bigger. Okay, now we're on to the tower walls. Their measurements are 12 inches by 5 inches, but altogether there are 8 of them for the tower and 1 more just in case you want to add the optional room on the inside. Next, we have 3 that are completely solid, 2 of them for the tower and 1 of them for that optional room that I showed before. And one last one, the tower door. And because this door is on the inside of the house, it is 8.5 inches tall and 3 inches wide. Next is the bay window walls. We need 3 of them in all, and they're 10.5 inches long by 3 inches wide. There is 1 more wall for the optional room, but for some reason I can't find the footage of me cutting it out. Now I'm going to show you in a little bit more detail how we get the octagon shape for the tower walls. Fold a piece of paper in half at a 45-degree angle, then measure on that edge 5 inches. Then use it in conjunction with your ruler, and at the 5-inch mark, make your lines. This makes sure that your lines are all 5 inches long and you get that 45-degree angle. I'm drawing this out on poster board, but you'll need to draw it out on the material you're using to build your house. Now that we've got the overall shape drawn, we need to divide it in sections. The first go around, we're just going to go from corner to corner. Now that we've done that, we need to divide our sections in half. Then divide them one more time. Now we need to number our stairs 1 through 24. 25 through 32 are a flat surface, so we don't have to worry about numbering or cutting those out. Not using a random circle like a bowl lid or, in my case, a mirror, draw a circle around the center. Now cut all the stairs out except for our wedge piece. Okay, now the next two parts might be a little bit tricky and get a little confusing, so I'll try my best to explain it. Now that we have all of our walls and stairs cut out, we need to turn our attention to the tower walls and mark out where each stair needs to be. The green line indicates the incline of the stairs. And this also shows the order that our wall panels need to be in order to make sure that they're in the right place. And as you can see, there's a solid wall and then the door wall that does not have any stairs at all. Keep in mind that each stair has a 1/2 inch riser, and there should be 4 stairs per wall segment. Now for the little bit of a strange part, take each individual step and measure each individual step. An example would be I can't take step 1 to measure out step 4, because they may be different sizes slightly, and that will show up in the end. Starting at the bottom right hand corner, measure up 1/2 inch. My illustration doesn't show that very well, but you do start out by measuring 1/2 inch up. Now take stair number 1 using the fat end. Starting at your 1/2 inch mark, measure where that goes. Then from that point, measure up 1/2 inch and then use stair number 2. Keep going until you've reached the top of panel 6. Okay, we have one more wall to draw out, and that is the wall that goes around the inside of the stairs. The process is exactly the same that we just did, the only difference being we're using the skinny side of the stair this time instead of the fat. This will come out being a lot shorter, but don't worry, it's supposed to be. For this wall, I didn't use building material, I used poster board, and that's because I was a little bit worried about getting my plastic to curve like that and not be so bulky. And now that we have the stairs marked out across our windows, we can go ahead and cut them out. Unfortunately, I cut my windows out before I knew where my stairs went, so I have a gap in between my two layers. I'm okay with it though, that's my first time ever doing spiral stairs and I think I did pretty okay. And that brings us to the end of our tutorial. I'm sorry it took me a little longer than usual. I had so many different problems at different points, but it's finally here and it's finally done. Next tutorial we'll be making wallpaper and wood paneling from poster board. And thank you Grandma Sandy for the shout out, I greatly appreciate it. And to all the newcomers, thank you for being here. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment as it really helps me out a lot. Thank you, Ginger, and I'll see you next time.